The following is a production of Galactic Netcasts.
Attention! The Sci-Fi Geeks Club is next! Please, stand by.
Live streaming provided by Alpha Geek Radio and Alpha Geek Video. Visit tunein.alphageekradio.com to learn more.
Hear ye, hear ye! Another meeting of the Sci-Fi Geeks Club is officially called to order!
All right, you've given the proper secret knock and password. We have, what do you call it? What's that called in the web security?
Two-factor authentication?
Yeah, two-factor authentication. Thank you very much. You may now enter the clubhouse. I'm President Dave Nelson here for this meeting of the Sci-Fi Geeks Club with the co-host of the Else Nerds show on the Galactic Netcast Network and the only other person besides Inessa who does just one show on the network. Welcome, Gregor Sprague. Gregor, hello.
Thank you. Yes, as I like to say, the only other sane person besides Inessa to only do one show. I will be a horror and guest on many other shows, but I only do one.
Okay. I think I may change your mind on that someday.
No, I got ideas.
Okay. Well, welcome to the Sci-Fi Geeks Club. We are here to talk about the news of the week and other stuff related to sci-fi. So let's get into it with our first news story from Engadget. And thank you, Gregor, for grabbing this one up. And I actually
thank Corey for that.
Oh, this is Corey. Okay.
No, this was from the two stories that I have here that I provided. This was all show prep yesterday for Else Nerds. And so
we're getting Else Nerds sloppy leftovers, is what you're saying?
No, it's just because yesterday was just crazy with work. So I worked to close and then came home, and I'm sitting there going through my news feed, and I just start clicking. I'm like, okay, this sounds interesting. This sounds interesting. This sounds interesting. And I'm like, okay, so here I go, Corey, here's what I got. I have, this one article that we talked about over on there. I think like Preacher getting a 13 episode season next year. There's this story, there's that story, there's Lost in Space reboot. And he's like, where I do like that Lost in Space reboot because, I did watch it growing up. Why don't you save that for tomorrow? And I'm like, I like how you think, sir.
The wise man. Thank you, Corey Scott. All right. So the deal is Netflix optioned Lost in Space late last November, and I think we did mention it back then here on the Sci-Fi Geeks Club. And we finally have a few more details about when we'll see it. The series is currently slated for a 10-episode run that will premiere in 2018, according to Deadline's source. And it sounds like it's going to be the whole Star Trek Lost in Space battle again, because back in the 60s, around the same time, you had your Lost in Space, and you had your Star Trek. And guess what's premiering next year? Star Trek.
Yeah.
The new Star Trek series. And they're both...
Oh, yeah. Do you want to cue another rant?
They're both going to be on a streaming service. So history repeating itself once again. The report goes on to say that it shouldn't stray too far from the original creator, Irwin Allen's original, the Robinson Family. Neither the classic or the Matt LeBlanc version will find themselves, you guessed it, lost in space, with them battling a strange new alien environment and also their own personal demons. So at Netflix, Lost in Space is believed to be part of a push in the arena of big-scale, 4-quadrant family entertainment. I'm guessing 4-quadrant is some industry lingo.
It's if this is what I'm thinking, it's hitting the 4 key major demographics.
Oh, that would make sense.
Yeah.
Okay.
For that.
So it sounds like it's going to be kind of a family drama, but serious and sci-fi at the same time, and probably a bit on the humorous side too. So this is hitting a lot of touchstones that I'm a big fan of. Big fan.
Yeah, and I mean it's interesting because it's one of those things that this intrigues me because you have the original series, which was in 1965, and it was set 3 decades into the future. 1997. So what? 20 years into the past. Is that right?
Yeah.
Oh God, I'm old. Sorry. I was a kid. I was 8 then. And all that. And so it's like, are they going to do that same thing here where it's 30 years into the future? And then people are going to look at it later on and be like, oh, wasn't it funny how they thought we would have had this at that time?
If they've learned anything from setting TV shows or movies in the future, you need to go farther than 20 years.
Yeah.
Star Trek did that, and they kind of dug themselves a hole because the whole eugenics war was supposed to take place in 1999, and we're well beyond that. So, if they're smart, they'll go more than 20 years into the future for this.
Yeah.
Show. All right. So what else? Let's run down the original series. You said 1965.
Yeah.
It was set in the future 1997. It revolved around an attempt by the U.S. to colonize deep space by sending a single family, the Robinsons, on a 5.5-year journey to another planet. But an enemy agent, Dr. Zachary Smith, sabotages the mission, causing the ship to veer off course and become lost in space. I wasn't really a big fan of Lost in Space. I'm more of a Star Trek person. I thought it was a little bit too goofy.
Yeah.
The early episodes, I think the first season, before it got too campy, I liked it. But when it got over the top campy, kind of, okay, here's a good parallel. The original, what's the series? What's the cartoon animated series I'm thinking of?
Voltron.
No, Scooby-Doo.
Okay, Scooby-Doo. Yeah.
We're way off. Scooby-Doo. Originally, I liked it before the dogs started talking. Okay? Once the dogs started talking, or talking more, I guess.
So you know that you have the general consensus of when they brought in Scrappy-Doo.
Yes. And then wasn't there a third dog that was equally or worse than Scrappy-Doo?
So you're telling me the Cousin Oliver?
Yes.
I don't know. I grew up with Scrappy-Doo in there, like Scooby-Doo and Scrappy-Doo 2.
Yeah.
And it was one of those where like I wasn't like, oh yeah, I love this show, but it was like, it's on. It's either this or whatever Nickelodeon was offering at the time, which was probably like a rerun of Rugrats that I had seen 20 times already. So it's like, yeah, I'm good here.
So I'm pretty excited about this reboot of Lost in Space.
And I am too, but it's mainly because Netflix hasn't really failed with any of these picks. Which it was going to be my pick, but I realized I sort of talked it up, and I mentioned it not too long ago. The Voltron, it was one of their latest ones, the Voltron Legendary Defenders.
Very good.
Freaking amazing. I love that cartoon.
And they captured the original.
Yeah.
I was a big fan of the original growing up. I was like in my late teens. I still watched it, but it definitely captures the feel of the original, the new Voltron.
No, yeah, and that's how I felt like it did. I felt like it might have done that as I'm watching it, and I'm like, oh my gosh, this is great. And was a little bit disappointed when Corey's like, yeah, I've only seen the first episode. I'm like, no, I want to talk more about it. But no, yeah, I mean, so this is pretty cool. And also I have to throw out that the parentheses, neither the classic or the Matt LeBlanc version could also be referring to Top Gear.
So anything Matt LeBlanc touches kind of turns to crap, is what you're saying?
No, the Top Gear thing I do not think is Matt LeBlanc. I think it is Chris Evans. Where I enjoy, and this is not sci-fi related, but I enjoy this season of Top Gear. I am out of all the people on Galactic Netcasts or the hosts and producers who watch Top Gear, I probably enjoy it the most. And the other two being Beatmaster and the guy who was just on Alien Invasion, Daryl Johnston. But I honestly think Matt LeBlanc is great. I think Chris Evans is the weak link in there. I think if they replace him with Rory Reed, you revolve the show around Rory Reed, Matt LeBlanc, and Chris Harris, then you have a new Top Gear. you
then
have that new
maybe
success.
maybe they'll realize that and they'll kind of change course.
Yeah.
And retool it a little bit.
Something.
All right. So before we move on to our next story, this is the place where we usually get to know our guest. We have no guest this week, so let's get to know Gregor a little bit. Do you want to talk some more about the Else Nerds?
Yeah, so the Else Nerds is it's been a long journey started by Glenn Rubenstein and yourself.
A long time.
Yeah.
From here, there to here. I had it wrong.
But no, yeah. But honestly, it's, like you guys started it, like he started, you came in, and then I joined you guys, and then you went away a little bit more. Like you started going away, and then Corey joined, and then Glenn got busy at Twit. And so me and Corey took over, and eventually we're like, and this is also with the writing on the wall of Spreecast of things were starting to go downhill.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so let's kind of do a little background on this for those listening that have no idea what you're talking about. You originally did the show that you were just talking about on Spreecast.com, which is kind of a video conferencing type of website. It's
similar to YouTube Hangouts or the YouTube Live thing, but it had a chat room right there. You could have people could come in right away. You didn't have to invite people. Mm-hmm. It was like if they're in there, they could come in and ask a question. It garnered success early on from more behind the scenes things, like with celebrities. Like Glee was very popular at the time. And so it was like Fox would do like a behind the scenes chat thing with Chris Colfer or, a Glee star, or, like an entertainment magazine type show would do something like that. And it was great. It was a great thing to have. And they were constantly upgrading it. It seems like we were always on the front page. And that was because we were friends with Sean over there who worked for Spreecast. And so it's like we were always right up there on the front page, and it was fun doing it. And then, it evolved where we're like, okay, me and Corey took it over, and we brought it over to YouTube, and we had been working with that the whole, for the whole time. And then we're like, all right, let's retool this to get it on Galactic Netcast. And so we brought it here, and so basically I consider it sort of the anti meaning opposite Sci-Fi Geeks Club. Because we talk nerdy stuff, but it's not limited to anything really. It's more what's on our nerdy little hearts.
Yeah, no,
that way.
Totally. And it undoubtedly ends up eventually on each episode you talk about comic books, which I love because I know that you're a big fan of comic books. So is Corey.
Yeah, and I mean it's like one of the things that I've been wanting to get through is right here, Preacher Book 1, because we've been talking about a project where we compare the comic to TV show, and I love I've read the first issue in the book. I love what I've read. It's just I've got so many other comic books I'm reading right now, to stay current with the news and the stories that I've followed, that I've grown to love, or not. Well, excuse me, grown to love is weird choice of words, that I've loved. And it's a really cool thing to have happen here, to where now it's like I'm doing this show, and I'm guest hosting on here, popping over on Trivia Geeks when I fill out the thing, coming over to Podcast of Terror the end of next month, and all this stuff. And it's like I'm doing more with all these friends, and it's cool because you guys are some of my best friends, and we've never met face to face.
Yeah, it's weird how that works out.
Yeah. Yeah, it's like here Beatmaster, me and him have great conversations, great debates, and he's all the way over in Switzerland.
Yeah, different continent altogether.
Yeah, and it's like, all right, we're here to debate, and I'm like, dude, are you sleep fighting me right now because because it's like 5 a.m. over there, and you should be in bed?
All right, so where can people find the Else Nerds?
It's at elsenerds.com is the easiest way, and then all the social media stuff is Else Nerds or Galactic Netcast, because we don't use the Facebook page anymore. It's just Galactic Netcast. And that's the elsenerds.com will take you right to the Galactic Netcasts or gncast.com/nerds,
Okay.
which is our thing that you gave us. And I'm like, haha, I like that.
Yeah, I highly recommend that you guys check it out. And I'm a big fan of the Corey rants, and I wish you guys would make that a permanent segment on every episode because it's my favorite thing. Whenever that happens, I know he can't really predict it. It just kind of happens.
And sometimes I do them.
Yeah.
Sometimes I throw it in there and I do them. It's just, we get feeling passionate about something, and about something that's stupid, or that we find stupid, and out comes a rant. And a lot of time when I have my rants, I leave my body. I don't know what I'm saying anymore. It's like I get going and I'm just like, wait, what's going on?
All right. So Else Nerds, check it out. And let's kind of segue from talking about your show to something that you would talk about on your show, and that's comic book stuff. New Arrow casting brings Hal Jordan one step closer to Star City. Do you want to take the lead on this one?
Yeah, so actually in this one I have another story to add to this with Flash casting as well.
Oh, I saw that. That's kind of a last minute thing that was just announced today, right?
Yeah. But we'll do the Arrow one first, and this is according to TV Insider. Carly Pope, who was on the Tomorrow People, will play Coast City reporter Susan Williams. In the comics, the wife of Hal's brother Jim, who comes to Star City looking to make a name for herself, quote unquote, by going after Oliver Queen for a big story. Williams will make her debut in the 3rd episode of Arrow's 5th season. Also joining the cast of Arrow is Tyler Ritter from the McCarthys in a recurring role. And according to the Hollywood Reporter, Ritter is playing Detective Malone, a replacement to Captain Lance on the Star City Police Department for the upcoming 5th season. Blackthorne will continue to appear in the series as a regular despite not operating on the police force. The 5th season of Arrow has seen a lot of additions as of late, including Josh Segarra from Chicago PD as a new district attorney, who in the comics is the hero vigilante. Rick Gonzalez from Reaper and Mr. Robot will play the anti-hero Wild Dog, and Chad Coleman from The Walking Dead will be a new gangster character named Tobias Church.
Cool. Now I'm going back to what you said about this what's his face? Tyler Ritter coming in to replace Captain Lance, and then him not being on the police force eventually. So that must mean that Captain Lance does come back eventually.
Captain Lance, from what it sounds like, Captain Lance is still involved, but because he filed the affidavit, or he filed that report saying that he knew about Laurel's involvement as Black Canary, and all that stuff. So he is basically like, I'm out because you guys are going to fire me, so I might as well just do the respectable thing and resign. So he's going to be around in some way, shape, or form for this season. All this sounds cool to me. I can't help but think about the story through Corey's eyes, and I don't know if this is going to be enough to bring Corey back, because Corey's...
Yeah, what's Corey's issue with Arrow?
A lot of stupid writing. It's like a lot of it is, in his opinion, is you have the whole Olicity thing, where it takes a big front seat to everything here, and it's like, what happened to save the city? Not, save the city because the girl I like lives in there, sort of deal. Is what it seemed like for a lot of it. But no, and I still enjoy the show. It's very enjoyable. It's still very enjoyable to me. Seeing all these things. I love the people that they brought in. Like Rick Gonzalez, I watched on, like I said, on Reaper, and he's over on Mr. Robot, and then Chad Coleman, Tyrese over on The Walking Dead.
That's Tyrese. Okay.
Yeah.
I didn't know that. I love Tyrese.
Yeah, who was also in The Expanse as well.
Oh, yeah, he was. Put 2 and 2 together. Oh my God.
But no, yeah. So and this is all really cool. Really big, really cool casting news. And the other one that was a last minute ad that I will throw into the show doc for the show notes later is, as I told a friend earlier today, coming home from the college group at my church. Draco Malfoy is coming to Central City.
Sweet.
Yeah, the headline is The Flash adds Harry Potter star Tom Felton as a series regular. Tom Felton, who most famously played Draco Malfoy, will join as join the series, or join the show as a series regular character Julian Dorn, who TV Line describes as a fellow CSI at Central City Police Department who suspects there's more to Barry Allen than just his good guy reputation. And the report sounds very similar. The character sounds similar to a report that described a character for the Flash that was being cast as Barry's slightly older, slightly geekier contemporary, a guy who is as smart as he is intuitive. As such, this newcomer doesn't buy Barry's nice guy routine and sets out to learn what he's hiding, all while concealing some secrets of his own. And so this is just really cool. Cool to hear. And this also, I think, does lead into our big question.
Ooh,
in
yeah.
a second. Yeah.
I'm curious to find out how you think it connects. So that's
I think there's some big connections here.
Okay.
But yeah, so that's the other one, is that Tom Felton is added over on Flash, which is really cool. He does great characters. I remember hating his character in Rise of the Planet of the Apes.
Oh, I didn't even know he was in that movie.
Yeah, the first one in the reboot that they did.
Was he one of the a-hole, like
Yeah, he was the a-hole who kept poking Caesar.
Oh, God, I hate that bastard.
Yeah, exactly, right? And as Malfoy, he was like the one who were like, "Oh, just shut up, Malfoy, you little witch." Oh, sorry, you're a wizard.
So there was another story this week that the actress who plays Jessie Quick is coming back for another season too.
Which makes sense. Yeah, there's a lot of casting with all this stuff that, like, it keeps it cool. It's to me, it says, okay, that they're still doing things here. There's not really there hasn't really been any, oh well, this is it's going to run flat anytime soon, but that they're going to go forward with these things. And it sort of makes sense because I think wasn't Jesse's dad, I can't think of his name.
You mean the actor or the character?
The character.
Harrison Wells.
Harrison Wells, that's right.
Harry.
Yeah. Wasn't he still around?
Well, he's going to be. I mean, they went back to Earth 1.
Did
right?
they? Okay, yeah.
They went back to Earth 1. So something will bring him back. And that's something, I don't know what. It's going to be interesting to find out.
Yeah.
All right. Before we move on to our final story of the news, quick, go to your phone, go to your computer, and follow us on Twitter, like our Facebook page, and subscribe to our YouTube channel. Do those three things. If you've only done one of those, do all three. So at Galactic Netcast, just do a Facebook search for Galactic Netcasts, like our page, and subscribe to our YouTube channel, and make sure that you click the whole notification, because whenever we record these podcasts on YouTube as live videos. So it's cool because you get a little bit
see
more
us live.
Yeah, and you get a little bit more because sometimes, like, I'll edit things out of my audio.
You do edits?
Yeah, I actually do edits. Yeah, I know.
I should look into that.
Time consuming. It's a pain in the ass, but
it is.
Sometimes it's worth it. So you'll get the raw video if you subscribe to our YouTube channel and click that whole notification thing, because that's one of the coolest features of YouTube, is getting notified when the channels that you follow uploads new videos. YouTube, Twitter, Facebook, follow us on all three of those platforms, and just kind of keep up with what we have going on. Okay, so third and final story from io9.com. The alternate timeline of the Star Trek movies finally has an official name, and I love where it came from. We'll get to that here in a second. It started in the 2009 film, but no one has ever quite known what to call it. It's now officially called the the Kelvin timeline. As revealed on a Star Trek Online blog post, CBS Consumer Products Holly Amos confirmed the name on Twitter, also giving credit for the name to who else but Michael and Denise Okuda. Are you familiar with who they are, Gregor?
No, but Star Trek is not my
I didn't think it was.
suit.
Yeah. Those two guys, they're a married couple.
Yeah.
I think they were actually not married before Star Trek. I think they met each other through Star Trek. Anyways, they're both like the visual elements of Star Trek, the technology involved in the show. They come up with that stuff. So they've been with Star Trek since Next Generation, I think. So it's cool that they're going back to them again for these things, and I'm hoping that they're going to be involved in the new series coming out next year.
Yeah.
So they're the co-authors of almost every Star Trek reference in existence, and they came up with the Kelvin timeline. And of course, the Kelvin refers to the name of the starship destroyed at the divergences of the two universes when the Romulan Nero traveled back in time and killed Thor. Because
I'm like, wait a minute. Did you just pull a Patton Oswalt filibuster on me here?
What's his face? The actor who plays Thor. Chris. No.
Chris, what's his face?
Chris Hemsworth.
Chris Hemsworth.
He played Kirk's father.
I remember that now. But this is really cool. I say this about every story, but this is really cool because this, to me, solves a problem that recently came up with the sad, tragic passing of Anton Yelchin, who was my age, and that blows me away.
Yeah.
So I'm going to get sidetracked into that story a little bit.
And I want to just a side note. We were off the week that story broke, so we haven't actually talked about that here on the podcast yet. That was a huge tragedy, and it's just a sad story. Yeah,
we talked about that on. I think we talked about it on the show. I know we talked about it in post and after show on the Else Nerds that week. And I explained, because I was actually explaining to Evan as to what happened, because Evan thought it was like a suicide thing, or one of those accidental overdoses that happens with a lot of celebrity sudden tragic deaths, and they find out drugs were involved. But it was because he died from that possibly from that recall with Fiat Chrysler, the Fiat Chrysler company.
Yeah, and you don't actually hear the actual stories from things that are a result of things that should be recalled ever.
Yeah, and it is sad, tragic. I'll go real quickly. I'll hit the points on that, and then I'll get to why I think this is gonna fix a problem created by that. The gear shift so to use my remote control as an example, this is the gear shift for your car, for your center console car. Most of them, like up here, is park, you go reverse, neutral, drive, the low sort of deal. But in these cars, and his car had this thing, it's a pop. You pop it back, and then it goes back to here. It rests at this spot. So you go there, drive, and you're good, and then you go up. You have to go up 3 clicks to get it into park. Problem is, if you're in a hurry, you throw it up, it's in neutral or it's in reverse. You get out of your car starts going. And if you're behind your car or someone else is behind your car, there's accident, death, something very serious happens there.
That's terrible.
Yeah, and that's what the reports I've seen believe happened to him. I actually saw a video showing how easy it is to trigger this into saying, oh, it's in, you think it's in park, but really it's in neutral, or it's in reverse, and you're on a hill, sort of deal. So that's on what happened. It is a tragedy. My condolences go out to his family, and everyone who knew him, because also he sounded like an awesome guy to be around. But with them naming this, to get back to the story, the original story, with them naming this the Star Trek movie universe that we have right here, the Kelvin universe, this gets this, you now have a way to recast, or not, well, no, not recast, sorry, that's the bad choice of words, because I said we got talking about, well, what do they do with future movies, and I said you bring in someone else. You do not recast that part, you bring in someone else to play a different character. You explain it off, and they go, well, but it's based on this. Yeah, true, but with this, you now have that out. With this being the Kelvin universe, you now say, oh, Chekhov didn't stay with the Enterprise for the whole journey. You know, there was a, whether you'd say, oh, he went back to Starfleet or whatever, you write him off by saying he went somewhere else, or you say there was a battle or something that happened and he died, whatever it might be, that fixes that problem that happened.
I was thinking the same thing.
Yeah.
Great minds think alike, Gregor.
That's right. And you also just called Corey not a great mind. Because I think he was saying like recasting it. I'm like, you can't recast.
No.
Anton Yelchin did a
character like that, especially for 3 movies. I could see maybe after 1 movie you could recast, but after 3, no way.
Yeah, you could do that between the first Iron Man and the second Iron Man. You can't do that after Iron Man 3 to Avengers Age of Ultron.
Good comparison. Very good. All right, so there we have it. That's our news. Before we get into the question, want to basically beg for your money.
Please, sir, can we have $1?
Now, you get this podcast and all the other podcasts on the Galactic Netcast Network, including Else Nerds, for free. You don't have to pay a single cent to get these podcasts. All right?
For Else Nerds, why would you pay a single cent?
Yeah. You're selling yourself short. No, so we still need to have some kind of financial support, because there are things that we need to pay for in order to get these podcasts out to you. Like, we have a website that we have to pay hosting, because if you're not getting a free, like, we had a free website for the longest time, and we switched to a WordPress site, and we're paying, it's pretty cheap. It's like $7 a month, but we still have to pay for it. Our audio hosting is also pretty cheap. We were going a free route for the longest time. We decided to go with something paid in order to have a more stable platform, and that's also pretty cheap a month, inexpensive every month. But it's still money that we need to raise. We don't want to pay it out of our own pocket, so we set up ways that you can help us get this stuff out to you. And what you do is you go to GNcasts, that's GNCASTS.com/support. And there's 2 ways you can help there. There's a link to our Patreon campaign, and you can give $1, $3, $5 a month recurring, and set it and forget it. Or you go to the Amazon affiliate link, you click on that, you search for whatever you're shopping for, you buy it, and 3% of your purchase price goes to us. So not only are you getting something,
Dave,
but we're getting, yes.
Sorry. 3% of this book went to you.
Hang on.
3% of Preacher went to you.
Oh, sweet. Well, thank you, Gregor.
we used, and to be honest though, I'm gonna help you out here a little bit with this, because with how we sell it over at Else Nerds for the 40 people who listen a week, about 40, is you've been supporting this out of your pocket yourself as the head honcho of Galactic Netcasts. You've been the one who's been footing the bill, and you got a wife, you got a kid. I think there's only one kid.
Yes.
Yeah. You have a kid over there,
a dog,
a dog. You got all these things over there in Canada now, and so that takes away from that money that you've been using for Galactic Netcasts. Not only that, but it gets tiring to be doing all these things, and yet you're paying out of pocket, and it's like, there's no one. Do I really need to do this? This is you guys helping Dave, saying, hey, yes, do it. I love what you're doing. Support it. If you got the two routes, like Dave said, you got the set it and forget it route, but then you got the other one, the Amazon route. That's so easy. You go through there, the support page, buy whatever you want. You want to buy some weird, creepy sex trapeze thingy, go for it. You want to buy Preacher Book 1, go for it. You want to buy, a Groot Funko bobblehead, go do it. Sort of deal. Point is, whatever you want to buy, go buy it, and you're good. You're golden, pony boy. And
you know what you can do is
out.
You take that link and you make it a favorites in your browser, and you go back to that. You make it your Amazon link, right?
Exactly.
Yeah. So you don't even have to worry about it. You do it, you can set it and forget it as well.
When did we turn into Rob Papil?
I know.
It's the Ronco Amazon bookmark. You set it and forget it.
It's so easy. Don't let this happen to you. Wah, wah, wah. I love those commercials for those kind of products, because it's always the over exaggeration of the worst situation you get with crappy products, right?
Yep. Yeah, no, it is. It is so hilarious the way they do it. But yeah, all that gncast.com/support.
Yes, thank you, Gregor. That was a great read. That was a great a story to tell. Appreciate it.
Exactly.
Okay, it's time to answer it.
Dave?
Answer it.
Dave?
Hey, Dave, what's the question?
Oh boy, we have a good question this week with so many changes, including the addition to Superman of Superman and their move over to the CW. How do you think, or as I had it spelled,
wow, do you think?
Wow, do you think? Wow, do you think? Okay, no, how do you think they'll change Supergirl in season 2? Will what's going on in the Flash with the Flashpoint storyline align her universe with the rest of the superhero shows on the network? That's my personal theory, but I want to know what you think, Gregor.
So I agree with that. I'm going to work in reverse here. I think the Flashpoint universe, and actually I was just talking about this with my friend at church, that the Flashpoint with season 3 with the Flashpoint storyline that they're going to be doing is going to be what brings in Supergirl over to the CW. Into our universe. It's gonna be, they're gonna work out some way to do that there. It's gonna affect that. It's gonna possibly affect bringing Laurel Lance back. I hope it doesn't, but I think I don't know how her contract is. I don't know if she's been seen up there filming anything, but I could see that happening. I think it's gonna be what makes Leonard Snart be able to go to all the other shows, because spoiler for the end of Legends of Tomorrow, but he does the heroic sacrifice at the end.
Not even at the end, like the second or third to last episode too. Yeah.
And so I do think that the Flashpoint storyline is gonna do a lot of things. It's gonna do a little bit of, I don't want to say of course correction, but not like there's drastic course correction. It's just, I think they saw with how they were writing the shows, like Greg Berlanti and Mark Guggenheim, and these producers who produce over all the shows, seeing, okay, well, we got to bring in Supergirl since it's coming over here to the CW, but also there's other things that happened that we could probably fix now, sort of deal.
Okay, I'm gonna kind of tell you how I think it's gonna go, and you tell me if you think I'm right. Okay. So, spoiler alert. End final episode of last season's season 2 of The Flash.
Mm-hmm.
Barry goes back in time and stops his mom from being killed by the Reverse Flash. All right, so that's gonna change the future. He's not going to become the Flash, or if he becomes the Flash, his future is different because of the change that he made. Somehow, he'll reverse that, and things will go back to what he thinks is normal. But there'll be a few things that'll be slightly different. For example, there's going to be this alien called Supergirl that's going to be in the universe that wasn't there before. But all of a sudden, it's normal that she's there. Is that what you're thinking? And there'll be other small changes, slight changes that we think are changes, but to them, they're not. That's the way it's been.
I think you're not far off with my thinking. And this is also me going from the knowledge that I have of watching the Flashpoint Paradox DC animated movie, and then hearing, reviews and people just talking about the Flashpoint comic book that brought in the New 52 universe. I think it's something similar to that, but I think it's going to be, I think they're going to keep they might keep that main through line of Flashpoint, where he goes back in time, saves his mom, hilarity ensues, and this big thing where he then decides that he's got to go back to stop himself from stopping his mother's death. And then that action is what would bring Supergirl in over here and make all those minute details.
That was the point that I was trying to make.
No, yeah. It's the same point. It's the same point. It's just he goes back to stop it. That's the end of season 2. There's this weirdness going on where you got Thomas Wayne as Batman and whatnot, and he doesn't have he might not have his powers or whatever. Flash gets his powers back, and then he goes back, and then sort of deal. That's my thinking. I could be completely wrong. I actually hope I'm completely wrong, because that seems like it's close to the comic. And I heard Grant Gustin say that they're going to make it their own, which is cool. So,
okay, I guess we'll see. I mean, it's going to premiere end of September, mid-September.
I believe so. I believe it's somewhere around there. I want to say it's beginning to mid-September.
I actually think it's towards the end of September.
Yeah, but I think honestly the bigger thing here is, with the casting of Superman, I think they're opening the door here for him coming in as a recurring character, more than just the second season will premiere on October 10th.
Okay.
But more than just a boot, or him way off in the distance, or how he had been used in season 1. I think this is a chance for them to set up and use and have him come in more and more frequently as an advisor in a manner of speaking.
Yeah, good point. That would be a good use of him.
Yeah,
just once in a while, pop his head in and go, "How's it going, Kara? You good?"
Or she's having a crisis of conscience or whatever, something that it's like, what, I can't take it. And she just goes up to the Fortress of Solitude and talks with Clark, and she figures it out, sort of deal. That's my thinking.
From the descriptions that I've heard about season 2, I think they're going to be dealing with a lot more metahumans than aliens. So I wonder if the whole alien task force thing is going to be less emphasized because of that.
That's an interesting thing. That's one of the things I think is going to be compound is you're going to have, all of a sudden you're going to have the DEO, a branch of Argus, sort of deal. That's what I think is probably going to happen.
Yeah, they're going to combine a lot of things, I think.
Yeah,
definitely. All right. We would love to know what you think of this. We have a couple of ways of giving us feedback. Actually, you know what? I want feedback not only on the stories that we've talked about and the question, but also I want answers for 2 questions. We're just wondering a couple of things about all of our podcasts on the Galactic Netcast Network. Okay, what's your favorite part of this show? And what do you want to get out of this podcast? Those are 2 questions that we would love answers to. Email it. Aliens? No, that's the wrong one.
mail@gmail.com.
Let me change that. Geeks at gncasts.com. Geeks at gncasts.com. You can also leave it via a voicemail, area code 805-328-3966. Again, what's your favorite part of this podcast, and what do you want to get out of it? It's just, we're kind of, we're a restaurant. We're asking for feedback. Did you like your service? How could we have served you better, kind of thing? So geeks at gncasts.com. Call our voicemail number and leave it there, 805-328-3966. We do have a little feedback from YouTube. Your girl Nadine on YouTube, and she commented, I think, on the last episode of the Sci-Fi Geeks Club. She said, I love the Empire and Amidala perfumes. We were talking about the Star Wars perfumes on the last episode. Also did a video about them. And sure, with the guarantee of coming back, sure, I would definitely time travel, but I'd like to be invisible so I don't end up spoiling my current life like in Back to the Future. So she's commenting on a couple things. She's commenting on the Star Wars perfumes, and the question that we had last time was, if you could go back in time, would you? Or I forget exactly what the wording was, but it was a
If
time.
I go back in time, yeah. Hell yeah.
And also hello to Gary True. He's a regular commenter on our videos on YouTube. So hello, Gary. Appreciate you watching and leaving comments. All right, let's do this thing right here.
Watching, reading, playing, listening, making, watching, reading, playing, listening, making, and watching, reading, playing, listening, making.
It's time to reveal our ings, what we have been watching, reading, listening, playing, etc., related to sci-fi this week. And it looks like Gregor first on the lineup.
Ish.
It's sort of sci-fi, kind of, in a way.
It's a comic book.
Okay.
I couldn't break my streak. I almost broke my streak and picked Voltron Legendary Defenders.
Oh yeah, you did have that in the document for a while.
I did have that, but then I read the last issue of the second volume of Pretty Deadly, and I loved it. I'm like, oh my gosh. I preface this by saying I've recommended Kelly Sue DeConnick's work numerous times on here. I've recommended Bitch Planet. I've recommended Captain Marvel. I've basically jumped on the bandwagon of being a fan of Kelly Sue DeConnick. Davis is also saying, if you ever get Kelly Sue DeConnick on here, I want to be on that show.
Well, let me write that down. We'll try. We'll work on it, because I mean, stranger things have happened. We had some pretty big people on the show before. So but so this one ended so you have the first volume, which I'll get links for the show notes and all that stuff through Amazon. The first volume was set in the Wild West. I've heard of this comic. Yeah, it's a great comic, and it's all told through Bone Bunny and Butterfly. Bones Bunny and Butterfly. And Bones Bunny is telling the story to Butterfly, and it's very beautifully done. But like I said, the first volume. I should point out the art is done by the excellent Emma Rios. I love her art on here as well. Especially this last issue, which again, pick up when it comes out in trade, because it is so good. But the first volume was set in the Old West, the Wild Wild West. Not the Will Smith movie. That was crap. That was crap, and he even admitted it was crap. But it was set in that time, and then it continues on with the main character of Ginny in the second volume in World War I or World War II. It's in one of the World Wars, and this last episode it got to this point where you were like, oh, wait a minute, it's not like they're people who are living throughout this whole time. They are the embodiment of fear or courage or somebody. One of the great things that Kelly Sue DeConnick and her husband Matt Fraction do are the letters pages. The difference being with Matt Fraction, with his
with sex criminals. One I've also recommended. It's the sex tips that they give on there, which is hilarious. With hers, she'll write a letter like explaining what's going to be coming up on, or thanking for the long break that they had or whatever. But with this one, she explained what's going to be happening in the next volume, and immediately I'm like, oh God, yes. And I believe it's going to be set in Hollywood. And I'm like, this is cool. You see these characters coming back. And she talked more about there's a dichotomy between these characters as what they represented. Like one represents fear, the other one represents courage. One, they all had these emotional representations, and just so brilliantly done. Pick up both trades. The second trade will come out here in a couple weeks, I think. They're both from Image, and they all, Kelly Sue DeConnick and Emma Rios, both have great stuff that they're doing outside of Pretty Deadly. But I recommend this. It's a great book to pick up. So Dave, you got an ing?
Yeah,
it looks like a watching.
Yeah, definitely watching. My wife and I watched the first season of Wayward Pines, and we thought it was going to be done because a lot of the actors, they had filmed it like a couple of years ago, and it was in limbo for the longest time, and they aired it, and it did pretty well. So they did a second season, and we were really surprised at how quickly the second season happened. Kind of snuck up on us. So my ing is season 2 of Wayward Pines, and I think I had season 1 as an ing, or our recommendation when it was still recommendations last year, and I liked it. I like season 2 actually a little bit better. The first episode, the premiere episode of season 2, kind of sucked. Like, we were very close to not continuing to watch it, but then we did continue to watch it, and we thought that, yeah, this is pretty good. They're doing stuff this season. The show has actually kind of changed the feel a little bit. You know how they kind of, sometimes shows will pivot. They'll start off with one goal or one vision, one kind of story, and then they'll all of a sudden go in a different direction, change course, and it actually becomes better. Like I think I had 12 Monkeys season 2 as my ing a few weeks ago, and that's the same situation. Season 2 is better than season 1 because they've expanded the story, they've expanded the lore, and they've done the same thing with season 2 of Wayward Pines. They brought in who's the guy that replaced Keanu Reeves in the Speed movie, Speed 2?
That would have required me to have watched Speed 2.
Jason something, I think. I forget. Anyways, he replaced he replaced somebody else for season 2 of Wayward Pines, and he's the doctor. And if you, spoiler alert, Wayward Pines takes place in the far, far future, thousands of years in the future, in this town where this guy in our time saw the end of mankind coming. Like he saw it in the winds, blowing in the winds, that we were basically screwing ourselves, and the evolution of man would evolve into these creatures. They call them abbeys. It's short for
Aberrations.
Yeah, aberrations. And they're basically devolved humans living outside of the gates of Wayward Pines. Wayward Pines is this quaint little small town in Idaho somewhere, and it looks like it could be today. But it's basically this town that was built thousands of years ago. They put a fence around it. They put a bunch of people in cryogenic sleep inside the mountain, and they woke up thousands of years later to kind of reestablish the human society. And that was what the first season was about, was learning the mystery. You know, where were they? Because the first couple episodes, you have no idea if this town, where this town is, what time. Like, you don't even know if it's in the future. You don't find out that they're in the future a few episodes in. So this season 2 is more about the next generation, because a few of the main characters died in season 1. So this new generation is kind of coming into their own and taking the lead. Like it's led by this young kid. He's probably in his teens still, as kind of a Hitler type character. And their soldiers, the soldiers in charge of security, look like brown coats, like Hitler Youth, basically. And it's all about they have a lot of they respect the guy that started this community who died in the first season. Like there's pictures of him all over the place, and they kind of live up to his standard and his dream of this society. So there's this, they call the first generation, where these kids that were born there, they get to a certain age, like they get to their early teens, and they start mating. They have this room in the school where a girl comes in, a guy comes in, and they have sex to have a kid, because they want to continue. They're trying to build up the humanity again.
Yeah.
And that's really creepy. I mean, that's super creepy. But then there's this whole like dealing with shortages of food, and they've grown crops outside the fence. But now the Abbeys are becoming smart, or we're realizing that the Abbeys are a lot smarter than we first thought. So they figured out how to use fire. So they're using fire against the humans now. And there's this whole other world out there that I believe, and they've already announced, I think, that it's not going to have a third season. But I think if they were to continue it, I think you could do a lot with this show, learning the history of what's been happening with the Earth since humanity kind of devolved into this other species. Maybe there's some other humans left on Earth somewhere. You know, maybe there's other communities that were built, just like Wayward Pines. So I really like season 2, and I like how they've expanded the universe outside the fence of Wayward Pines. So that's definitely, I'm going to give it, I guess we don't have really a rating system, but I enjoy it a lot, and that's my ing this week.
No, I tried Wayward Pines last year. I watched, I think, the first episode and was like, I'm not interested. But it was, I think a lot of it also had to deal with the fact that they were billing this as being from M. Night Shyamalan, and he had not had a great track record. He almost ruined Avatar: The Last Airbender, for crying out loud. That is a show I hold near and dear to my heart. Also, go watch Voltron Legendary Defenders. It's done by the same animation team. But so it left this weird taste in my mouth that I'm like, I'm not gonna go watch it again. But with you describing it, it's almost enough to get me to watch it. But it's like, I like your description better than probably what it would be if I were to watch the show.
Really?
Yeah.
I don't do well describing things. I know that of myself, so that makes me feel pretty good.
Well, it's like, because you've done that with Gotham, and you're like, oh, you should be watching Gotham, and you're explaining it. I'm like, this sounds really good, and I watch it, and I'm like, this is shit. Sorry.
Damn it, Gregor. Family program.
Sorry. I'm coming from the second most filthy show on the Galactic Netcasts.
Yeah. Punk. You
Can you see the common thread between the two filthiest shows?
Corey Scott. All right. So cool. Well, Wayward Pines is very unique, and I know that M. Night Shyamalan was involved. I think he had the original idea. I think maybe he didn't even have the original idea. He was like an executive producer. So not a lot of What's that?
I think that was it. He was like an executive producer or something.
I don't think he's really that directly involved in it. And in fact, I think his name is still on it, but it's even less like one of his joints this second season. Yeah. It's less of a mystery, and it's more of a post-apocalyptic survivor type story.
Yeah. And also, I thought it was only going to have 3 seasons. I thought they were talking about.
Oh, maybe they did. Maybe that's what I heard. It is going to have 3 seasons, but that's it after the third. Yeah.
Yeah, that's where not like, oh, it's not gonna, because I don't think its ratings are that great to begin with. Because they air it in the summertime,
Yeah.
Um,
Summertime shows never do that well, except for the sci-fi shows.
yeah,
The two that are coming back this week, Dark Matter and Killjoys. I'm looking forward to that.
I've been watching I watched the first couple episodes of Killjoys, and not Killjoys. Killjoys, yeah, but Dark Matter on Netflix, and I'm enjoying that show, and I'm like, I need to get caught up.
Yeah,
that and The Expanse, and then
Yeah.
I think I might give Killjoys another try too.
All right. So those are our ings. We'll have the links to them in the show notes. Real quick before we're about to wrap things up, Gregor. It's been
With a nice, pretty little bow.
flew by. We have a couple of things that you can sign up for absolutely free. We have a monthly newsletter, which I need to get off my ass and get put out because we're at the end of the month.
Just do it.
You can sign up at gncasts.com/sign up. That's GNCASTS.com/sign up. Sign up for the monthly newsletter. We're not going to give your email address to anybody. You'll only get the one email a month. You can also sign up for our Slack chat team at that same website address, gncasts.com/sign up. So you can sit on your phone and chat with Mr. Gregor Sprague whenever he's online and whenever you're online. So you can have a conversation with Gregor right there, that guy right there. You can have in-depth conversation with him about whatever you guys end up talking about.
Exactly. It'll probably be about comic books or wrestling.
Yeah.
Or
So
British TV.
it's chat, right? You can chat in your web browser or you can get the app, and it's all free. You don't have to pay for a single thing. All you have to do is go to the website, gncasts.com/sign up, click on the link for that, and we'll invite you, and the rest will be history, and you'll enjoy your Galactic Netcast experience even more. Okay, for more on this podcast, including show notes, contact info, go to gncasts.com/geeks. You can subscribe to this podcast by going to gncasts.com/subscribe or search for us on iTunes, Stitcher, Google Play Music, or anywhere fine podcasts are offered. And next week, our guest is going to be Todd Whitehead of the Alpha Geek Network that we're also streaming on. That'll be his second appearance. And you're going to be back as guest host next week.
Exactly. Exactly. I'm taking over. Brad, you're fired.
Brad and are actually going on vacation. That's why you're here. But you're a regular anyways. You're on this show every few episodes, so it's not like you never show up.
No, I know. It's cool. I love doing this stuff.
Before we I cut you loose, I have a theory. The guy that played that's the guy that's going to be coming on The Flash that was on Harry Potter. What's his name?
Tom Felton.
Yeah. Do you think he's going to be Max Mercury?
I don't know. I could possibly see that. But I don't know. They plan those things out with the Flash, and this is a talk for else nerds. That may be off this week unless I could find a certain co-host who would want to come help me.
Don't ask me because I'm barely doing these podcasts. I'm on this. A little background information. I'm a swing shift employee at a radio station that just let go 3 of its employees. So I'm swinging my ass off right now. I'm working full time, like for the next month. I'm working every single day. So it was really hard for me to come home and do our 2 podcasts this evening. So I'm sorry, I cannot guest on the Else Nerds this week.
And it's a shout out for everyone else. I need a co-host. Daryl, I'm looking at you. Actually, wait, that is appropriate because I didn't call Daryl out on this last week's episode of Else Nerds. Yeah, sorry. But yeah,
maybe somebody will want to do it. Who knows?
Exactly, because Corey's going to be away.
Oh, okay. What the hell's going on? Why are all the podcast hosts taking off?
Corey's going. I think Corey's going on vacation somewhere.
Okay.
I think.
Are we still doing a show right now? Is this happening?
Yeah. Shouldn't we be wrapping up? Shouldn't you be thanking me for being on here?
Gregor, thanks for being my co-host this week on the Sci-Fi Geek Club podcast. Where can people find your stuff online?
You could find the main thing I do at elseners.com. You could follow me on Twitter at that Gregor, at Facebook I believe is at that Gregor, or it's like that. Just search for Gregor Sprague on Facebook. Find me on the social network stuff. It's either at Gregor, Gregor 1942, any of those things.
And you'll be back next week.
Exactly, and I'll be right back here. Same bat time, same bat channel.
All right. I'm Dave Nelson on behalf of Brad, Gregor, Corey, Matt.
Bye, Dad.
And Anessa. We'll talk to you next time.
Yay.
You're going to say something.
Bye. Or else.
Too late now.
Oh.